Pokémon is a game about catching them all. But what if I removed the ability to catch any Pokémon? The question being presented, can I beat the original Pokémon without capturing a single Pokémon? The rules are simple. I can't capture one Pokémon with any sort of ball. Safari Ball, Pokeball, Great Ball, Ultra Ball, or Master Ball. All Pokémon acquired must be given to me and or acquired through other means. So I started the game up, made a new game, and was greeted by a professor that looks oddly like a marionette and a soulless apparition for whatever reason. I named myself, I don't effing know, because somebody suggested it while I was recording this live on Twitch TV. During the stream, I came up with the idea to name my rival I Can Cap, because he can, and I started my adventure. I knew I needed something extra, something to give me the edge, so I grabbed the potion out of the PC and headed for the tall grass. Oak got quite upset. Almost as upset as if I were riding a bike indoors. Nevertheless, he took me to his lab, and I was going to select which Pokemon I was going to take for this adventure. Now, this choice fell upon the simple need for the move Cut, because you will not be able to get any Pokemon that can learn that move before the 4th gym, and you need Cut to proceed, so the only choice was Bulbasaur or Charmander. Choosing Bulbasaur was an easier decision, making my life not a literal living hell, so I went with him. Now, my rival, of course, decided that it was time to put our cute little monsters to the test, and why not let's have them fight each other and see which one is better. I mean, we just got them. Let's put them to a deathmatch, right? So this battle was somewhat difficult and is potentially the most difficult in the game, but thankfully, due to me grabbing that potion, I was able to recover and beat his Charmander. This gives me plenty experience, which is great. Along the route north, I was able to pick up a potion and beat up some pigeons for some extra experience. Some of them were a bit more feisty than others, but nevertheless, again, I was able to learn Leech Seed, a critical move for this Pokemon. Entering the shop, I was prompted to deliver a package for Oak. What am I, the postman? Well, whatever. I did it to progress the game, got a Pokedex, and I was told that this guy's dream was to complete it, even though he wasn't able to. So, being tasked with that, I went outside, beat up some rats, beat up some more pigeons, grew a couple more levels, and then I decided that it was time to challenge a good old rival there I Can Cap. But, unfortunately, I made an error in judgment because I only have one level 8 Bulbasaur, and he has one level 9 Pidgey and Charmander. This led to me getting sand thrown into my eyes so many times that I missed so many attacks. I could not potentially win this battle. Even though there was a ray of hope and sunshine at the end of the tunnel as I grew to level 9, I was too weakened from the battle with Pidgey, and his Charmander was just too difficult to take on because I had already been weakened and could not attack due to sand being on my eyes. I lost, and by the rules here that I have self-imposed, this is somewhat of a Nuzlocke run. I just restarted and reset everything. So here we go, round 2, and this time I challenged him at level 9, and again, I was susceptible to sand being flung in my eyeballs. Not a fun time. Not really sure why he really enjoys that, but it is very, very treacherous to battle him with sand in your eyes. I made it past his pigeon this time, and I didn't have too much trouble with Charmander, so I was able to gain those sweet, sweet experience points I would need. When I went to the shop, I was going to pick up some antidotes, but then I realized that Bulbasaur was a grass poison type, and I didn't need it, and since they don't sell potions, there was nothing there. I found a useless item in the forest. I continued forward, beat up some bugs, some bug catchers and their Pokemon, beat up some evolved bugs and gained some great experience from that. And then I continued forward, beating up even more bugs, because that's all this forest has to offer. An extremely rare percentage to encounter a Pikachu and bugs. Found an antidote, which is pretty useless right now, and then beat up a very high-leveled Weedle to gain some more experience for the upcoming battles. When I reached Pewter City, I hit the Pokemon Center and made sure that my Bulbasaur was in tip-top shape. Then I continued forward, purchasing some more potions and some stuff that I would need for the upcoming battles, as once again, Bulbasaur is my only Pokemon. After I got done shopping, I decided to take on some of the gym leader's apprentices, shall we put it. He had a Diglett, which, surprisingly enough, was able to survive the Vine Whip. Yeah, it's pretty crazy, but it lived it. And so did Sandshrew. Again, pretty crazy that these guys lived it, but I got through it, and I challenged Brock. And, yeah, his Geodude did not live it. Let me just go ahead and move right on to Onyx there, and guess what? Just take one quick guess. Here we go. Here it is. His Onyx didn't love it either. So it's pretty wild that a Diglett and a Sandshrew lived it, but not the gym leader's Pokemon. Anyways, he gave me a completely useless TM, and I moved forward. This chick here decided to want to speak to me about a Pokemon battle. I beat up her pigeons, once again tackling them into the ground, and grabbed some experience. After this, I beat up a bug catcher and his Pokemon, and this was just enough to push me up to level 16, which is the level at which Bulbasaur evolves, making him a completely new entity known as Ivysaur. Slowly but surely, my frog dinosaur became more like a frog fused with salad. Not bad. I took on an Ekans, which is one of the only notable Pokemon of this area, and I also had a very treacherous and rough battle with a Spearow that almost killed me, which I was very lucky that it didn't. This one in particular is a very challenging encounter, but it does reward you with a good amount of experience and is worth taking the chance for. I beat up a few more bugs, and that was it. The set of trainers were finished, and I moved on to the next area, where I encountered a Jigglypuff with a lazy eye that looked like it had a stroke. I feel sorry for that Jigglypuff. Feels bad, man. Then I reached the Pokemon Center, and this is the first opportunity where I had a chance to get another Pokemon without capturing it. Purchasing a Pokemon is 100% acceptable. Now, I know what you're saying. Oh, but Proto, I thought this was a no capture run, and absolutely it is not. That is why I did not capture this Magikarp. This gentleman sold this Magikarp to me, and outside of this encounter and the game corner, you cannot purchase any other Pokemon in this game, making this Magikarp my property, which is what I named it. Property. And boy, is it pathetic for now. But that'll change. I entered into Mount Moon, and literally 4 steps in, guess what greets me? Yep, that's right, it's Zubat. You're going to be seeing a lot of these. But unfortunately, because Zubat is using bug moves, it's super effective against my Ivysaur. I encountered a Clefairy, and that was not a fun time, but I got through that battle as well with that trainer. Encountered a Geodude, and if Brock's Geodude was any example, these ones were easy pickings and once again free experience. Moving forward, I found an HP up, which I instantly decided to use on my Pokemon, as these items are very, very important to strengthening one of the only Pokemon I'm going to be using on this run. So, it was worth using it instantly. A Rocket Grunt wanted to battle me. He had a Sandshrew, and again, since I had already beaten one, I wasn't concerned at all, and I defeated the Rocket easily. It seems picking Ivysaur and Bulbasaur as the starter paid off in spades. But then, inevitably, I encountered the Clefairy and got very depressed because I can't capture Pokemon and had to run away from it. Unfortunate. I beat up a Bellsprout and Trainer's Grass-type Pokemon. Nothing special happened. Found TM01, which is Mega Punch, and since none of my Pokemon had arms to punch, none of them could learn it. That makes sense, even though there are games where other Pokemon without arms can learn Mega Punch. I encountered another Ekans that decided to try and rap me to death. Gen 1 rap is much different than the other generations, and it's not a fun time, but I got through that also. Found me some Ether to force Huff to my Pokemon for later. That'll be great. And then I encountered an obese hiker, to which I took a moment, looked at his design, and was just very curious who approved the design of his right hand, because it looks like he got stung by multiple bees and wasps. Not sure what's going on with this hiker. Does he have a beard, or is that the shadow of his neck? You guys can go ahead and weigh in the comment section down below. I'm gonna go ahead and just move on. The hiker was easy pickings, and I moved forward, encountering a rocket with Eradicate. This battle in particular is a very precarious one to take on, especially at a low level, but it was not impossible for me to defeat him, even though he did some major damage with Hyper Fang, almost ending my run as my Magikarp only has Splash. Then I encountered a Grimer who looks like he's ready to party. What a great sprite design. And I encountered the backwards upside down coughing, where his skull and crossbones are on his forehead when they should be on his stomach. Gen 1 sprites, ladies and gentlemen. Not bad at all. Though I don't mind his design, it's just wrong. I beat him anyways and took some XP. Then I decided to take a fossil and just move things forward. If you guys thought I was going to use a fossil in this run, you're 100% wrong. I didn't use it. I didn't have any need for it, as I had a Gyarados. Moving forward, I found another TM that was completely useless, which was Whirlwind, and then it was time for me to go straight to Cerulean City and further this adventure. So far, so good. I walked through a guy's house, uninvited, and looked in his backyard for some stuff that he dropped. Turns out he had a rare candy back there. I went and restocked on the stuff that I needed. I surely would need a lot more potions, and because I have much fewer Pokemon, I don't have to waste money on Pokeballs. So I was able to stock up on some healing items, which will pay off in spades later on. I went directly to the gym leader instead of doing Nugget Bridge and Bill's Lighthouse first, so I thought it was going to be pretty easy, and I was correct. These guys are all water-based Pokemon, and Vine Whip is just brutal to them. It does a massive amount of damage, it's super effective, and they gave me some great experience. I was already at level 24, and I had only reached Cerulean City. Again, I battled another trainer. They had a Goldeen, which proved to be a little bit more resilient than the previous water Pokemon I faced, with a peck that was super effective, but just not enough to do any substantial damage, which is alright with me. Vine Whip 1 really took care of the situation. Then it was on to Misty. Misty Staryu was not a difficult challenge at all, but the Starmie put up a fight a couple Vine Whips later, and it was dead. Just due to the simple fact that it had a lot of special, it was able to take more of a beating. But I still prevailed. Misty gave me Bubble Beam, one of the better water-type moves in the game, and I will most certainly give that to Gyarados when I evolve Magikarp. I encountered my rival. He sent out his Pokemon once again, thinking that he was going to overcome my one singular Pokemon. No. I destroyed every single one of his Pokemon with Ivysaur, and Ivysaur alone, as I don't have Gyarados yet. And that was that. The rival was finished, and I was moving forward to Nugget Bridge. So I continued on to Nugget Bridge, and I took out most of the trainers. Most of them not very notable, already battled Pokemon before, whatever Pokemon that they have. I've seen before, battled before. This one, in particular, had a Mankey that was level 18. Pretty high level for this area, pretty good Pokemon to battle. Then this guy wanted me to join Team Rocket. You know what I said, you know what I did. I tackled his Zubat, I tackled his Raticate, I said goodbye, no thank you, because I'm the hero. I'm not the bad guy. Then I decided to battle a couple other trainers along the way to Bill. I just wanted to go ahead and point out a few things here. Machop might be the worst sprite ever created for Generation 1. This one right here not only has pickaxes for eyeballs, but also has a tail. Have you ever seen a Machop with a tail before? It also does not look like a fighting type, and has dried spaghetti noodles for ribcage. 0 out of 10. Then I battled Onix. Most of the trainers around here, They don't compare. It's the battle of the snakes. Gyarados versus Onix. And Gyarados comes out on top because I gave him Bubble Beam. Yeah, not really a surprise here. Honestly, this is just free experience. I did encounter a new Pokemon, Slowpoke, which is a very, very bulky Pokemon. And it seems in this spot, I always get critical hitted by confusion, and I end up getting confused as well, just from RNG. It happens to me on almost every single run, and I just don't know why. Does anybody else have experience with this? Like, the RNG luck it's about 10% chance to become confused. And then, of course, I hurt myself in confusion. This Slowpoke almost ended Gyarados. I moved to a way where this guy would move out of this spot, so after I beat him, I could go and get the TM. It was Seismic Toss, so it was useless to me, again. And then I battled another trainer with some grass Pokemon, and I beat all the rest of the trainers as well. Nothing really notable to say. Bill asked me to help him, and I said, absolutely, sure, why not? And then, like the jerk I am, I left and didn't help him. I moved forward, tried to walk by this guy, and he insisted I battled him in a Pokemon battle. Not sure why. Sir, excuse me, I just want to walk past you. But that's fine. I beat him, and then I continued forward in an underground tunnel, trying to find some items as I went. I failed. This tunnel in particular is difficult to find stuff. After I left the tunnel, I encountered a couple other trainers that had some unique Pokemon. This is the first trainer that you will see that actually has a Squirtle if you didn't pick him and your rival didn't pick him. And then you encounter a Pikachu as well. I don't believe this is the first nor the only trainer in the game that has Pikachu, but it is one of the trainers that has Pikachu in the event that you can't find Pikachu. But nowadays we have the internet, so yeah, it paralyzed me. So good thing to have Paralyze Heal on you. I battled Butterfree as well, which was fairly bulky, more bulkier than I had originally anticipated. Being a level 20, it was really good experience. Then I ate some pigeons, like literally I bit them and ate them in a row, 3 of them. They were a good snack for my Gyarados. And then Eradicate challenged me to a biting contest, in which case it had a pretty strong bite to it, but I gotta tell you, the Pokemon that can literally bite through stone, it won it. It took the gold. I decided to deposit some of the extra items I have. I have so many extra items, there's just no need for most of these things, especially TMs that I'm never going to use. Like, what's the point in keeping them? When you do a run like this, or just in general play, you want to free up a lot of your space in Gen 1 because you didn't have a lot of bag space, so it's good to keep it freed up instead of having to constantly drop items. As I progressed forward, I decided to go into this next area, which has tons of trainers, but none of them are really notable. Only a couple had some unique Pokemon that I had not seen, like Nidorino, for example, and they were not difficult to take down. As you can see, Gyarados only had 3 HP missing. And then there was an engineer that had a Magneton. Magneton is possibly the second worst sprite. The way they are put together, one of the Magnemites is backwards and sideways with an upside down screw, maybe? It looks terrible. And then the other one has its magnet shoved up the other one's, well, yeah. I went on to St. Anne, and again, I battled all of the trainers here on St. Anne. This one in particular was very easy. It's the first trainer that you can battle, really, if you just want to hop in the closest room when you get aboard. And shocker, it was not a difficult battle whatsoever. Again, battling the rest of the trainers, it ended like this with my Ivysaur. Once you get Razor Leaf in Generation 1, it's over with for most Pokemon, because watch this. Critical hit, it's super effective, it's super effective, it's super effective, critical hit, it's super effective, critical hit. I went to the kitchen, found a Great Ball in the trash, where it belongs, because I'm not going to use it. Then I went back to doing this again. Razor Leaf, there it is, there it goes, critical hit. And finally, my Ivysaur decided to evolve after one-shotting almost every single Pokemon on the boat. What Pokemon it couldn't handle, Gyarados handled. Now, it truly was a giant frog salad. I stole this person's rare candy, battled my rival once again. This time he really thought he was going to take me with his level 19 Pidgeotto versus my level 32 Giant Frog Solid. He did have a Kadabra, which was a formidable opponent, but I just bit it, and it was finished. That was it. That's all I had to do. Bite it. So he was a little bit surprised, but he's glad I'm raising my Pokemon well. I rubbed the captain's back, which is extremely strange for the kid in this game to be rubbing an adult male's back. Okay, I see nothing wrong with this. That's whew. I'm glad Chris Hansen isn't here. He'd ask him to take a seat. I got cut, then I looked in the trash can he was puking in, and I probably shouldn't have. I watched the boat leave. It never came back. All those people died. Nobody knows what happened to them. No, seriously. There's literally no canon suggestion that this ship ever came back, other than in Generation 2, when there's a completely different ship. It's not the same thing. I used cut on the bush instead of walking around it like a responsible young man. And then I entered into the gym. Once again, same Pokemon I've seen before. Bunch of Magnemites, Voltorbs, and Pikachus. There's really nothing special here. I activated one switch, and then RNG blessed me, and the other switch was literally next to it, which is crazy lucky. I decided to just go with it, go with the luck, and challenge Lieutenant Surge, who had some PTSD flashbacks when battling me. Probably why he has the bush in the way from anyone challenging him. And then I got to his Raichu after defeating his 2 previous Pokemon. And Raichu had Parahacks. RNG was not on my side here because not only did he 10% Parahacks me with Thunderbolt, but with Thundershock too. Eventually I was able to take him down through Poison and Leech Seed, so it wasn't that big of a deal, and Obese Raichu was defeated. Surge gave me Thunderbolt, which I never used in this run. I went back through an underground tunnel again. That was extra green. I like the color of this tunnel. It reminds me of the OG Game Boy colors. Very, very green, lime green. I gave a bike voucher to a guy, got a bicycle. That was pretty cool. And once again, this one hedge seems to prevent people from going forward, so I did the responsible thing, cut it down. Battled the trainer that happened to have 2 unique Beedrills. Just one level too low to have Twin Needle. Not much of a threat at all. And this trainer here happened to have a Diglett. Because I didn't go through the Diglett tunnel, I didn't see Diglett yet. So this is probably one of the only other Pokemon I have yet to encounter or haven't battled yet in some way, shape, or form. So he was finished. Then I found a Super Potion right here, so that's cool. Free Super Potion. And because I didn't get Flash, I have to go through Dark Tunnel without being able to see anything. But that's okay. A Super Nerd challenged me, and, well, guess what? His Cubone is, no more. You could say it was boned from the beginning. I'm bad to the bone. Found my original uninvolved state of Bulbasaur. Battled it. Continued forward in the dark, stumbling around, feeling my way through. Probably felt a hiker. Got challenged. He didn't seem to enjoy me fumbling in the dark, touching him. So I used Bubble Beam on his Graveler. And then I continued forward once again, not being able to see a single thing, and eventually found my way out. On the other side, I arrived in Lavender Town, finding a Max Ether on this random tree right here, and I decided to go into the Pokemon Tower and pay my respects to the dead. And by pay my respects, I mean have a literal Pokemon battle for no other reason than to just see who's stronger at the time. Boy, me and my rival are extremely disrespectful, aren't we? The only notable thing that happened was his Execute put me to sleep, which was annoying, but other than that, it was pretty easy. I went down another tunnel, which, again, still reminds me of original Game Boy. Do you guys like these tunnel breaks? I think they're alright. They have some cool items. I stole an Eevee. Literally, this guy standing here watched me steal this Eevee. Gave him a name that is in accordance to me stealing him, so that worked great. And once again, I did not catch that Eevee, so it was mine. I bought a Pokedoll to scam a ghost later. I bought a Firestone because I want a Flareon. And I decided to check out this tree to find some PP up. It's called Viagra these days, but back in the 90s, you know. I went into the hotel and noticed it looked a lot like a Pokemon Center. Then I checked out this invisible PC, which is a real thing. Got a coin case from a guy who went broke. Then I decided to go and find some coins. It turns out feeling around on the floor of a sticky slot machine place is a great way to get free coins. I had a guy give me some coins too, but I just couldn't win, man. I tried so much to win. I even loaded save states and attempted over and over, just couldn't do it. But that's okay. I went to the gym anyways. I didn't need to win. No big deal. These guys right here, this gym, easy peasy with Flareon. But even so, I also acquired Ice Beam from the department store off camera, and you could just use Ice Beam as well. They say you shouldn't bring bug moves here, but the only notable bug move that would really do some damage is Twin Needle or possibly Pin Missile, which is extremely hard to acquire, so I believe it's much easier to just catch a Fire-type Pokemon and use it, but no Capture Run means it'd have to be a Flareon. Erica, simple challenge once again. She does have some high-level Pokemon, so they're very good for experience. Couple Embers takes care of Victory Bell because it is not as defensive. The Tangela is very defensive for physical attacks, not special based, so I burnt him and ended up getting wrapped, and then I just used a Hyper Beam to finish off Vileplume, which did indeed kill it. Yes, I was able to acquire enough money to buy Hyper Beam and teach it to Flareon. Yeah, I gave some liquid to the guards. They seemed happy with that. I challenged some Pokemon trainers that I had forgotten when I passed through here originally, and just did it to grind up some experience. There's no need to do wild battles if you actually challenge every single Pokemon trainer that you encounter, and I challenged almost every single one in this game, but not all of them, and still did it. When I arrived at the Lavender Tower, the trainers seemed to be more than happy to battle me, but they all seemed possessed and very strange. The ghost Pokemon in particular were tedious, to say the least, because they have extremely high special and can't be hit by physical moves. I found a ghost. I couldn't identify it, which was weird because the channelers were perfectly fine. Then I found this weird white square that instantly healed my Pokemon, and I thought to myself, why do we have Pokemon centers when we have these white squares that we could just use? I encountered a Haunter. There's only 2 or 3 times that you'll encounter a Haunter in this tower, if you're lucky. Haunter is a little bit stronger than Ghastly, but still very special based, so physical attacks would work great on them if normal type and fighting types hit them, but it doesn't, so you have to rely on some basic elemental moves. Fire, ice, water. Don't use grass though, because he's part poison. I found a rare candy that was placed seemingly in my way. Had to pick it up for whatever reason. Don't know why they put it right there and not somewhere else. But I used it instantly to level up one of my guys. I encountered Ghost, level 30. And instead of battling it or using the Silph Scope like I was supposed to, I used the Pokédoll, completely bypassing the Silph Scope portion. I didn't have to do the game corner. All of that was completely bypassed because of a Pokédoll. No joke. So I went upstairs and battled some more Team Rocket. Enemies, Golbat is horrifying, but also cool looking in Generation 1. And then they vaguely made some minor threats. They couldn't really do anything to me. I have 3 Pokemon and I still beat them. I rescued this guy. In exchange, he gave me a Pokeflute, so that was cool. And yeah, that's exactly what I came to Lavender Town for. I restocked on some items before I decided to head out. Was able to sell off some stuff that I didn't need, and I renamed my Venusaur to something a little bit more fitting. Because everybody loves Charizard, I decided to name him the premier starter name. And I decided to head over to Saffron City. I challenged the Fighting Dojo. The only unique Pokemon that I have yet to see there was Primeape among the trainers training there. And then the leader himself also had 2 Pokemon that I had not seen yet. One was Hitmonlee, which was able to tank 1 hit. And the next one was Hitmonchan, which was not really able to take 1 hit. Razorleaf seems to really be putting in the work. Now, the Black Belt did say that I could choose whatever Pokemon I wanted, and once again, this is not a Pokemon that I captured, meaning that I have the choice of getting 2 separate Pokemon, Hitmonchan or Hitmonlee. But because I like a challenge and I totally want to disrespect this terrible dojo, I just decided to leave without taking any. This led me to beginning Silph Co. Silph Co is a grind, without question. It's a grind, perhaps a necessary grind. You could argue that you've seen almost all of these Pokemon again. So I'm going to spare you the details and just show you that creepy Golbat once again. But there are a few new Pokemon, so I'll go ahead and show some of those. Oddly enough, the Rockets have Hypno and Drowsy, and I've always thought that's because they have Poison Gas attack. And then this guy here had the creepy Mr. Mime, and finally I encountered a Weezing as well. There's a couple more like Arbok, the evolved form of Ekans, but most of these battles didn't give me any trouble whatsoever other than a few status conditions and minor damage. I was able to find the card key, and that was the first thing I did. Then I encountered another Weezing, which, again, this is exactly why I don't show these battles that much. I encountered an Electrode that blew itself up. This is not entertainment. I found some items just laying around. It's a really good spot to find stuff. I laid in some random beds and rested to gain my strength back because we have a battle with the rival once again. And this time he brought his A-game, boy. That's a Pidgeot right there. Oh boy. Yeah, he's not pulling no punches, and I'm not that much higher than him at this point in time. But remember, I only have 3 Pokemon. One Hyper Beam puts his Pidgeot down, probably because of the critical hit, but who's to say? Again, another critical hit with the Bite Attack put the Alakazam down, and Hydro Pump destroys the Charizard. The rest of his Pokemon were pretty mediocre, so these guys were taken out pretty easily, making the rival just as weak as the Rockets. Again, strengthening the argument that perhaps these Pokemon should be a lot stronger than what they actually are. I encountered Giovanni for the first time, battled the Kangaskhan again for the first time because I did not do the game corner. I skipped it with the Pokédoll, and I battled his Pokemon, and he had nothing unique or special other than Nidoqueen and Kangaskhan. And yet again, Hydro Pump and a Razor Leaf later, and his Pokemon were defeated, and my Pokemon grew stronger. Free experience. So yeah, goodbye Giovanni. I decided to go and talk to the CEO. Not really sure why. I didn't have to talk to him. He gave me the Master Ball. Trash, because I can't use it. I woke up a Snorlax. This one was actually a more challenging battle than all my battles beforehand. But I eventually got him down, rode a bike, encountered an actual motorcycle, not just a bicycle. Grimer was ready to party once again, and yeah, as per usual, coughing comes out, and again, that's all these guys really have. Same Pokemon we've encountered over and over again. I encountered this person named Cuball, and just, oh my god, the longer you stare at it, the more ridiculous it is. He looks like he has an upside down bell on his crotch. He has 2 giant size F tits in a shirt, and there's plates under his skin. I rode my bike down the hill, didn't have an antidote, so my Pokemon was slowly dying of poisoning. Thank God it didn't, because once again, being a somewhat Nuzlocke run here, it would have been gone for good. I healed my Pokemon, so there we are. No problem with poison, which is nice. And yeah, we just continued on our journey, which is always good. Being able to gather up what we needed. I went into the gym, decided to battle the trainers again to gather more experience points, because I sure will need it later on when I encounter the Elite Four. I encountered a few simple Pokemon like Kadabra and Hypno, which again, this is the poison type gym. And then noticed that it was a bit strange that a tamer had a lollipop in his hands. Yep, he's got a lollipop and a whip in another. And his eyes are amazing. This guy has to be Brock's cousin. Couple other Pokemon that were noteworthy were the poison types, which was Arbok, and then I believe the Tamer had a Sandslash too, but I believe that's only because it had Poison Sting. Koga had a Coughing, and I believe another Coughing, a Muck, and a Weezing. His most notable and most difficult Pokemon being Weezing, because it could take a pretty strong attack and not be completely one-shot. It is a high-level Weezing, though, and Weezing does have some decent special, making it an alright Pokemon. It self-destructed in a last-ditch effort to try and take out my Pokemon. Once again, it was his final Pokemon, so there was no point in him doing this, because he wouldn't have been able to win anyways. Just wanted to be an a-hole. He gave me TM06, which is Toxic, and if you didn't know, there's a very special and unique glitch that you can perform in this game with Venusaur or Executor, combining Toxic with Leech Seed, and I will explain that later when I get to the Elite Four. But you will be very amazed with the power that I can perform. I restocked yet again, buying a lot of stuff because I didn't need to spend the money on Pokeballs, which was nice. I decided that it was time for me to go to the Safari Zone and find me that Surf HM and someone's gold teeth. Walking about in the Safari Zone, it is tedious, to say the least. I could use repels, but then I would be missing out on those random encounters. And hey-oh, would you look at this one? This one in particular is extremely rare. There's only a 4% chance of Kangaskhan being here. I again dreaded and thought, man, a no capture run and Kangaskhan appears as my second encounter. Picked up a couple more TMs, found some more useful items, and some not so useful. I just added them to my arsenal. If I could use them, I used them. If I couldn't, I sold them. Found the gold teeth. I was able to find the TM for Double Team, taught it to Not Caught. I was able to get HM03, which is Surf, taught it to Property, and I decided to give those teeth back to the Warden, even though I probably should have kept them because they would have given me a lot more money. But in exchange for my trouble, he gave me HM04 Strength, which I have to teach to Gyarados. Again, Gyarados being a big part of this run, he needs to learn both Strength and Surf for you to complete the run. I was able to acquire a free rare candy, battle some more water-type Pokemon. I don't think I have to go into full detail about this surfing part, do I? There's a lot of water-type Pokemon that repeat themselves, but a few unique and new ones I encountered was Seeking, and you'll notice this through the run. Razor Leaf, critical hit, super effective, critical hit, super effective. Razor Leaf puts in work. I then encountered a Tentacruel that looked like it was judging me with its arms crossed over. Angry, upset at my life choices up to this point. After defeating these 4 trainers, I just continued forward with my surfing, and I had to go to the Seafoam Islands because I didn't have Fly, and I really didn't want to go back through the Diglett Tunnel and go south of Pallet. I encountered a Cloyster, which its sprite is completely wrong, as this Cloyster is 100% opened up, instead of sealed up by any type of logic that makes no sense. I also encountered a Seadra, the Sea Dragon type Pokemon, and it is not a Dragon type, it is a Water type, so Razor Leaf put in work again. I encountered this trainer, which is a Beauty, who is in high heels swimming. Interesting. When I got into the caves, a rock told me that I needed strength to move it, so that's what I did. I moved a bunch of rocks with strength. Compelling gameplay. Pokemon, one of the best games of all time. Generation 1. Moved more rocks. Good gameplay. Good game design, guys. This is a perfect 10, I gotta tell you. The pushing of boulders, really, just perfect gameplay. Eventually, I was able to seal off the current and complete the very basic puzzle, but in that time, I did get lost several times in this cave. It probably took me longer to get through than it should have. Nonetheless, I am wiser and I moved forward. I found this bird catcher that was out here, which was a very nice change of pace, but not that much more difficult. Ice Beam totaled all of his Pokemon. And I had encountered a Fearow, that's why I showed that. I was able to reach Cinnabar Island, found a Moonstone when I walked into the mansion, and this mansion is once again one of those very simplistic puzzles. Turn on a switch, you close some doors, turn off a switch, you open some doors, yada yada yada. I move forward, encounter a very strange scientist who is here for unexplained reasons. He then said I didn't belong here, but then he probably doesn't either. Found more items after I jumped off the ledge. TM14, I believe that was Blizzard, which is a really good move, but inaccurate, so I decided to stay with Ice Beam instead of Blizzard. Pressed a switch again. Did not sleep in these beds this time. I think I should have, though, because it would have been a good spot for a nap. Found a rare candy. Found another TM22, which I believe is Solar Beam. Then I went south and found the card key. Because this is Gen 1, there's no Sunny Day, so Solar Beam Sunny Day combo does not exist. I went into the gym, and I battled every single trainer, even though I could have skipped it by doing the quizzes. This trainer told me he had become straight. I'm gonna leave that alone, because we're in 2020 and you be whatever you want. I encountered these trainers. They all had the same Pokemon. Ninetales, Arcanines, Vulpixes, and Growliths. Maybe a Charmander and Charmeleon. Nothing special. A couple Surfs took care of them. Ponyta, Rapidash. Again, these Pokemon are the same, repeated over and over and over again. It's just free experience. It's almost like the game is literally leading up to some type of big encounter, like the Elite Four or a gym leader at the end of this. And all of these encounters are meant to bolster my experience. But hey, I'm just thinking out loud here. There is the wild Pokemon if you don't get enough experience here with these trainers before you face the gym leader. But I didn't need it because, again, I have a Gyarados who can surf. Which is, I want to say, 60 to 70% of all you need in this game. A Gyarados with a good strong attack, Ice Beam, a water attack, and you're good to go. Blaine told me I should have a burn heal, though I'm not sure why he looks like an alien. And yeah, his Pokemon are uninspiring once again. A Rapidash came out. My Surf missed, even though it's 100% accurate, proving the 1 in 256 chance to miss as a real thing. Another Surf attack killed it because it decided the best course of action was to growl at me, which is not. It's Arcanine time, and what do you think the odds are that it's going to live through a Surf? Well, if you said anything other than it will, it won't. I'm sorry. This isn't a game show. I'm not Blaine. I'm not on a quiz show. No, every one of these Pokemon died from a one-shot Surf. He gave me Fire Blast, though, which helps me out a lot, and I did decide to teach that to my Flareon. Even though he suggested Charmeleon or Ponyta would be good bets, I think Flareon works out really well with it. And because Flareon in Generation 1, for whatever reason, doesn't learn Flamethrower until around level 54, I believe, I don't think I ever got Flareon high enough to learn Flamethrower, so Fire Blast was a good thing to teach him. I encountered some more Pokemon on my adventure back up north. This Poliwhirl looked like it was ready to really put the hurt on me, but once again, Razor Leaf comes through. Swimming through the ocean, looking for some motion, causing a commotion with that Razor Leaf on that Wartortle. Another chance to spot Pokemon that you would have otherwise never seen if your rival hadn't picked it or you hadn't picked it. Yeah, this game does give the opportunity to actually get them in your Pokedex, which is nice. I battled another Starmie, it fell again. Battled another Seeking, it fell again. I battled all these fish, clams, turtles, cloisters. Are you seeing a pattern? Razor Leaf's a bit OP. And then I fell into the trap. I talked to the wrong trainer. The 6 Magikarp trainer. I'm gonna spare you. I'm gonna spare you the torture. Being back home is nice and all. I talked to Mom and she told me I should take a quick rest, which I did, which is nice. Thanks, Mom. Really appreciate that. And I decided to continue forward. Hey, the gym doors are locked. and that's when it hit me. I forgot to beat Sabrina. So, time for me to venture back and attempt to beat Sabrina. Hacking down a tree, going through a Diglett tunnel, no problem. I'm gonna go ahead and get through this, and would you look at that? Another low percentage Pokemon. This one only has a 5% chance to appear on a no capture run. This was literally the second Pokemon that appeared in the tunnel when I walked through it. Okay, after that depressing display of me running away because I can't do anything, I moved straight into Saffron City and went straight for the gym. I have no other business here, so there's no point in messing around. I encountered a psychic who can float his Pokeballs up and down with his mind. That's pretty cool. I wish he could teach me how to do that, but whatever. I'm just a regular Joe Schmo trainer. I'm not that smart. His Slowpokes and Slowbros and those type of Pokemon are pretty bulky in here, but every other Pokemon is pretty easy to take down, and if I happen to attack them with Razor Leaf, they go down in pretty much one shot. The Ghost Pokemon we've already encountered before, and since we're a higher level, it's not really an issue. Again, the only bulky Pokemon you're going to have to worry about is Slowbro and Slowpoke. The rest of them can be one-shot as they are glass cannons. After I solved this trivial teleportation puzzle, I talked to Sabrina, and despite her not liking the battle, she wanted to fight. The only Pokemon that really gave me trouble here was surprisingly a Venomoth, and that's just because I missed the Fire Blast, which is a shame. I probably should have just straight off the bat went off with 2 Body Slams or 1 Hyper Beam, but then again I could have missed the Hyper Beam as well. The only thing that it did do was poison me, and 2 Body Slams later, it was finished. Its Psybeam did nothing to me, and then she pulled out the big guns. Alakazam! With Psywave. Psywave, which didn't do a lot. I was expecting to be one-shotted. I was expecting to lose Flareon, but nope. 1 Body Slam killed it, because Flareon's attack is ridiculous. Then she gave me Psywave, and I threw it away, because I don't need that garbage. And also, none of my Pokemon can learn that move, so yeah, yay. I went on and decided to face the final gym leader. I encountered a Tauros, which is supposedly one of the best all-round Pokemon that you can get for Generation 1, but I would argue it possibly isn't, because it doesn't learn that great a variety of attacks and it has a low special, but it's an okay Pokemon to use. I encountered a Nidoking, who was one-shot yet again by my Gyarados, and I encountered a Dugtrio, which again is a very fast and powerful Pokemon, but has no defense, so it gets one-shot. It also doesn't have the greatest of specials, so yeah. I beat all the rest of the Pokemon because they were either fighting types that I've already seen or ground and rock types, and they were pretty easy. On to Giovanni. Giovanni's supposed to be the ground master, but I would have really preferred if he had Mewtwo, like in the movie or in other games. But no, he has a very basic, pathetic Pokemon. A Rhyhorn, a Dugtrio, Pokemon I've already encountered and beaten. His Nidoqueen is level 44, which is a decent level, but it could have been level 60 and maybe even 70. Same with Nidoking, and I still would have 2-hit it with Surf. Yeah, these weak Pokemon aren't cutting it. Again, his final Pokemon being Rhydon, super weak to water-type moves, destroyed. If I wanted to, I could have used Charizard instead and used Razor Leaf, but I decided to just Surf. He gave me Fisher, which is a useless TM. 30% chance to hit, and no thanks. None of my Pokemon can learn it anyways. I can Cap. My rival wanted me to battle him again before I went into the Poke League, and I have no problem obliging with that. Free experience is free experience. He looked at me as if I insulted him when I said he was free experience, but after I completely obliterated his chicken with an Ice Beam, he had second thoughts about continuing the battle. Nevertheless, once again, his Rhyhorn was crushed. His other Pokemon were crushed. His Execute At this point in time, he still has a Rhydon, he still has a Rhyhorn, and an Execute, whatever. Property learned Hyper Beam. His most dangerous Pokemon, being Gyarados, did do a little bit of damage, and his other most dangerous Pokemon, Alakazam, did not do any damage because it was taken out with one Hyper Beam. And then finally, Charizard, arguably his quote-unquote best Pokemon, but I still think Alakazam was his best, was one shot with Surfing. Yep, that's it. That's finished. It's done. So we're going to go ahead and go through the arduous journey of just being asked if we have these badges. They could have just stuck one guy at the end and, hey, do you have all the badges? But no, the Elite Four, they don't understand economics and business. They will pay 8 people. 8 people's jobs are just to sit there and observe if trainers have the badges or not. When I got inside Victory Road, it's time to push boulders again. You know how much I love this gameplay. So, at the top, there's a little puzzle here. You can get TM43 if you want it, or you can get a rare candy. It's your choice. And so I chose the rare candy because none of my Pokemon can learn TM43. Once again, they just can't learn it. It's not a move they can learn, which is unfortunate. I encountered a female cool trainer with a very bulky Persian for some reason. This Persian really took a lot of hits to take down and caused me significant damage. I don't know why. Then I encountered another trainer who has all the mid stages of the starters, and finally a Charizard. And again, they're pretty easy to defeat, but if you didn't happen to encounter any of the mid stages, this is a place you could get them for your Pokedex. This being a no capture run, I'm basically just doing this for experience rather than Pokedex completion. It's back to moving boulders when I'm not battling Pokemon, and thank God for repels, because I don't think I could take doing this without repels. I found me TM05, which is Meg Kick, and you'd think some of my Pokemon would be able to learn it because they do have legs. You may argue that they don't have good arms, but no, they couldn't learn it. And I encountered Juggler, who has Psychic-type Pokemon for some reason. Yep. Moving on, we just keep getting free XP from these guys. They're too easy. Most of the battles I encountered, even the unique Pokemon like Golduck, which I had yet to encounter, Razor Leaf, critical hit, super effective, one shot. I found TM17, another move that none of my Pokemon could learn, despite me hoping and wishing for the variety. I couldn't learn Submission, no. Well, not that that move particularly is great. I challenged Cool Trainer Male, who happened to have Executor and a couple other Pokemon that rounded out the team, but again, these Pokemon are pretty easy to take down and one shot with moves that I have. Ice Beam took care of Executor, and the rest of his Pokemon weren't a problem either. Boy, I keep getting critical hits. Back to pushing boulders. That's the real gameplay here. Pushing boulders. I found TM47, which is Explosion, and surprise, surprise, none of my Pokemon could learn it. Not that I would want to learn it, especially on a somewhat Nuzlocke run, where if I exploded one of my Pokemon, they die. I encountered a trainer with a Chansey, which is a very rare Pokemon, but it was completely destroyed by one Body Slam. Chansey has no defense anyway, so not a shock. I encountered one trainer that had all sorts of grass Pokemon like Victory Bell, Weeping Bell, and Bellsprout. I didn't bother showing her. I encountered this trainer who had a variety of Pokemon. Kingler, once again, Razor Leaf. What do you think's going to happen? Is it going to be a critical hit? Is it? Yup! Critical hit. Super effective. Then I encountered the Blastoise that he had, which, again, you'd think, maybe it can survive. Being a starter Pokemon with really good stats, no, it's dead. Critical hit, super effective. I went back to moving boulders because I really am getting tired of destroying my enemies with Razor Leaf. I found a full restore on this rock here. Not like it was going to do a lot for me, but it's there. And then it was onward and upward towards this weird statue puzzle, which I've always wondered why is here. Seriously, why is this here? Why? Can you imagine people coming here and being like, oh, a minor inconvenience. Guess I better go home. Now, once you're to the Elite Four here, you need to be very, very cautious and stock up on everything because you're not going to be able to come back and buy or heal. You have to battle all of these trainers in a row without being able to heal. So you need your own mobile Pokemon Center, which is exactly what I'm doing. I have no use for money after I beat all of these Pokemon trainers and beat the game. There's no reason to keep money, so I'm going to spend it all on every healing item I can just in case I need it. Not that I will. And now is the final chance that I have to turn back if I'm not ready. So I made it to the Elite Four. First up, of course, is Lorelei. Lorelei has a lot of water ice types, just for the nature of Gen 1. There's not a lot of pure ice types. So basically, what's going to happen here is Razor Leaf's going to come in clutch with that critical hit, but these Pokemon are so high level that they don't actually get one shot completely. Now I'm not saying a lot of them don't get one shot, because they do, but a good number of them can take a few hits here and there because this is Elite Four. Fortunately for me, that number is very, very small, as Razor Leaf does put in the work, and it does keep getting the crit hacks, which is really, really nice. Critical hits in Generation 1 are based off of speed. So, because Slowbro is so bulky, I can show you the Toxic Leech Seed combo. So as you can see, the first thing I do is Leech Seed. You need to either Toxic first or Leech Seed first. And the tactic is that by Toxicking, the more damage the enemy sustains, the more HP you're going to sap back. Leech Seed works by taking about 10% of the enemy's health, and Toxic works by taking at first 5%, then 10%, then 20, then 40, then 80. But what happens is Leech Seed turns into Toxic, except that it steals the HP as well. So it doesn't just do the damage, it also steals the HP and gives it back to the user while mimicking Toxic and doing the damage of Toxic. It's a crazy glitch, but it is absolutely amazing and cannot be beaten. The only way that this glitch is overcome is if an enemy kills Venusaur first, before he can get it off. The next opponent is Jinx, which is, again, a glass cannon. It does not do very well, and it doesn't have a high attack, which is why I'm very curious why they gave it Body Slam. It's not that good, so don't use a Jinx with Body Slam. The final opponent is Lapras, which is a very dangerous Pokemon. Again, this is somewhat Nuzlocke rules. It's more no capture based, but this one almost knocked out Venusaur, and if I didn't have Venusaur for the end, that would have been a really, really, really difficult run to complete with two Pokemon. Not impossible. So, because I know it's not going to survive another Blizzard, and I know that Razor Leaf is not going to one-shot it, I swapped over to Property, my Gyarados. It got crit hacked, which, if it had Body Slammed Venusaur and crit hacked, it probably would have knocked it out. And if it would have used Blizzard, it would have knocked it out. Now, this Lapras is extremely bulky. Body Slam has a good chance of 30% chance to paralyze, so I would not suggest messing around with it. But currently, I had really no other options than to just physically attack it, as it had already done a lot of damage to Venusaur. But with that, Lorelei is finished, and she was one of the more worrisome opponents because of her ice attacks. Next up is Bruno, not the toughest nor the scariest Pokemon trainer to go against, and his Pokemon are, do I have to say it again? Yep, Razor Leaf, critical hit, super effective. Goodbye. Now, here's the crazy thing. His Hitmonchan goes down from one Surf attack, and I did not boost special from Gyarados at all. Like, I didn't buy any calcium or anything like that for his special. He's just one-shotting these guys with Surf. And that's amazing because Gyarados, while very competent in special, is more of an attacker than anything else. Now, this is where I got really scared because his Machamp has Rock Slide and Gyarados is a flying type. also, so one Rock Slide could have knocked me out, but instead he laughably chooses to use Fissure, which flying types are immune to anyways, and he gets knocked out with another Surf. The Surf was a critical hit, but even if it wasn't a critical, it would have reduced him down quite a bit, probably enough to two-shot him anyways. Bruno, you are a complete joke. On to Agatha, the third Elite Four member. She tells me that Oak is interested in me, which is extremely creepy because he is an old man and I am supposedly a child in the game. Her first Gengar is the thing that gave me the most trouble because it continuously uses Confuse Ray over and over and over again. Even when I'm already confused, it was still trying to use Confuse Ray to keep me confused, which sucks. But eventually I was able to get through the confusion and I decided to set up. Now, it really didn't have any moves that could affect me other than Hypnosis, Dream Eater, Confuse Ray, and I believe it also had Nightshade. Yeah, not the most competent set there. It just continuously tried to spam Confuse Ray and Hypnosis, and after you get a double team in, like, it's over with. So I got 6 double teams going. I have max evasion now, and 1 Fire Blast does it in, and once again, it's just time to bring out the brooms. And again, as always on Twitch, I have the broom emoji for people who subscribe, and they were all spamming the broom emoji because it's time to sweep. You can go ahead and call Not Caught the Janitor. Maybe I'll go to the Name Raider and rename him. It does not one-shot every single Pokemon that she has. Surprisingly, of all the Pokemon, Arbok survived, but the rest of them, they can't do anything because of the evasion. There's probably, I want to say, at least 7 other Flareons on the field, and the Pokemon just don't know what to do. Because I am out of Fire Blast and I missed, I have to use some of the Ether that I have to restore the Pokemon's PP, which is unfortunate, but it is there for that reason. One of the things you have to really pay attention to on a no capture run is the ability to restore the power points of your Pokemon. If you cannot do that, what ends up happening is that you will run out of moves, which is a serious problem because then you won't be able to do what you need to do. I end Gengar, and then it's on to the final challenge, Lance. Or so we think. We still have one more challenge after Lance, but we'll worry about that when we get to it. Lance is going to tell me that my challenge ends with him, which I'm going to respond to him with I doubt it. Gyarados, again, being one of the bulkier, more competent, more difficult Pokemon to deal with. I poisoned Leech Seed and Razor Leafed to death. Then the Dragonairs come out, and a couple Ice Beams later, and that's all it takes to finish off the Dragonairs. If one Dragonair went down because of an Ice Beam, then another Dragonair will go down because of an Ice Beam. Ice Beam really does a lot of damage, and I'm going to go ahead and switch over to Surf to do that damage to this rock type. Aerodactyl, being an extremely fast Pokemon, gets a critical hit with Takedown, which is surprising. But nonetheless, he's going to get destroyed by Surf because he has no special whatsoever. And he's also not a dragon, so he doesn't resist the water attack. Finally, we're on to Dragonite, and would you look at that, one Ice Beam will finish him off. Good night, Dragonite. A critical hit does him in, and that's it. Lance is finished. It's amazing how devastating ice attacks are for Lance. Finally, I finished Lance off, and it's on to my rival. Would you look at that, he's going to go ahead and tell me he's the most powerful trainer in the world, but excuse me, sir, I've made it to the Elite Four with 3 Pokemon. I think I'm doing pretty good for myself. Maybe that says something for those NPCs that only have like 3 Pokemon. Hey, I never thought about it that way. Well, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, he starts out with Pidgeot, who gets Ice Beamed into the ground. Wow. But it does live it, and it probably only lives it because it is about 6 levels higher than me. Yeah, not only do I not have a full team, but also almost every Pokemon I battled since Lorelei has been higher than all of my Pokemon. This one scared me. A Psychic Attack straight from Alakazam. Now, that's a lot of damage, right? But Property, once again, coming in clutch with his bulkiness, lives it, and blasts back with a Hyper Beam. Critical hit, finishing Alakazam off. Into Rhydon, again, another good solid 5 levels higher, finished with a Surf attack. Then to Executor. Executor is going to go ahead and eat this Ice Beam, and he's going to get that critical hit, but it's just not enough because he's very special based. Another Ice Beam will finish it because his Hypnosis misses, and then Executor is down. And finally, we're switching over to Gyarados here. Now, my Gyarados took a lot of damage, and I'm just not 100% sure I'm going to be able to take this Gyarados out alone with Charizard. I might have been able to do it, but I'm thinking I should probably heal up Gyarados. So his Gyarados uses Leer 2 times, so I'm thinking, okay, the AI is just going to keep spamming Leer because it's a psychic move, right? Wrong. What ends up happening is I go for the heal on my property here, my Gyarados, to make sure that he's going to be combat ready, and I take a Hyper Beam on the chin with 2 Leers in, which probably sets my defense at around a level 50-ish Pokemon, and that's about 11 levels lower. He gets taken out, and as per rules of Nuzlocke, I cannot revive him and bring him back. He is dead. But Gyarados goes down thanks to property, and because his final Pokemon is Charizard, and he's a complete and total idiot, he uses Rage. Now, Surf. Surf. Probably one of the best moves ever created. Gets him into the red bar. But that's not enough to kill him, as we all know. 1 full restore later, it's time for another Surf. And hopefully this finishes it off. But even if it doesn't, he's using Rage. Rage. One of the worst moves in the game, if not the worst move next to Splash. Rage is a terrible move to use, and he gets destroyed for it. Finishing his Charizard ends the challenge. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to let you know that yes, you can indeed beat the original Pokemon, Red and Blue, without capturing a single Pokemon. And without a full team, and with Nuzlocke rules in place. None of my Pokemon fainted, with the exception to Bulbasaur. 1 time in the beginning, which prompted the restart of this challenge, and then Venusaur at the very end of the game. Not a single time did I lose any of my Pokemon. No feigning whatsoever. In fact, this challenge might have been particularly too easy because my 3 Pokemon were the only Pokemon gaining the experience, and it wasn't spread out and divided evenly among 6 Pokemon, collectively lowering the levels. The Pokemon I chose were very, very useful, but more along the lines I chose them because they were necessary. I needed a Pokemon that could use Strength, that could use Cut, and that could Surf. And the rest of the HMs, Fly and Flash, are not necessary, which requires some planning. So there may have been other Pokemon that I could have used, like a Charmander, and taught it to cut down bushes, and then went with other Pokemon for Strength and Surf, and that would have been alright. I could have gone with a Jolteon, but this is the crew I went with, and I think the end result was pretty good. Now, if you were personally thinking about doing a challenge like this, you can use my guide as a reference here. There are several Pokemon that you can acquire throughout the game that are not caught. You can get 6 from the game corner. You can get a Dratini, a Scyther, or Pinsir, and a Porygon. You can get a Clefairy, a Nidoran, and an Abra. You could also trade that Abra for a Mr. Mime, and you could trade that Nidoran for a different type of Nidoran, which would be cool, or a Nidorino and a Nidorina, which is also pretty cool. You could get yourself a Hitmonlee, a Hitmonchan. You can get yourself an Eevee, and you can buy yourself a Magikarp. So you do have access to quite a few Pokemon. And even if you are very, very late in the game, you could still get and acquire the Lapras that is given to you also at Silph Co, which is really late in the game. It's nothing that you can't get over. There's nothing you can't accomplish, man. There's the water Pokemon given to you, but then if you also really need Gyarados for the HMs like Strength and Surf, you can get those too. So this was a fun challenge. I think it was more challenging and more exciting to do with Nuzlocke rules in place, as well as limiting my Pokemon to 3 Pokemon. Ladies and gentlemen, this was a very fun video to produce, but it did take me about 6 hours to chop up, edit the audio, record the audio, and put it all together. That's not including processing times, which I'm about to figure out how long are going to take. I want to thank you guys for viewing. If you made it this far, make sure to like and share the video. Comment below with your own thoughts on this no capture run. Do you think I could have done better? Do you think I did bad? Let me know in the comments down below. Now, I've been your host, Mario, and I'm signing out. As always, good gaming, God bless, and I'll see you in the next one.